Sunday, I sat down with civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump. We discussed some of the most recent and highly controversial and highly publicized cases that he's representing. 1, the Nolan Wells issue. 2, Corey Ruiz out of Wisconsin. Make sure you subscribe to all of our platforms to get the latest details. Now here is Attorney Crump. Attorney Ben Crump, thank you so much for this time. I know you're inundated with so much. You're dealing with the Wisconsin case as well as what's happened in Mississippi. Could you give us an update on Mississippi as we're seeing so much on social media? The governor is making statements about you, particularly after the NAACP press conference detailing the preliminary autopsy report, independent autopsy report of Nolan Wells.
Yes, ma'am. Well, obviously, we are refusing to be silent. We're refusing to let them just sweep Nolan's death under the rug, as the sheriff said at the very beginning, where we think there's no foul play. He said that on day one after any investigation. And so we said, as a black community, and me as the attorney representing Nolan Wells' family, said, no, we're not going to accept that you can come to a conclusion about this young black kid's life without even an investigation. I mean, he was the only black kid on the boat with 4 other white kids. They all come back safe. He doesn't return. April, his body is washed up 2 days later, dead. His cell phone is in their possession. They don't call his mother with saying, we got a cell phone. She has to do Life 360 to find out that the cell phone is with them. I mean, it's troubling on so many levels. What 18-year-old says, I'm going to stay behind, but don't get their cell phone? It doesn't even make sense in 2026. And so we had to conduct the private autopsy because the parents, I believe, rightfully so, to have trust issues with the state of Mississippi and law enforcement, especially after they were suggesting there's no foul play. And so we did the independent autopsy, and I announced the results in Chicago at the National NAACP convention with Christine and Elmore Wansley, Nolan Wells' mother and father. And we talked about what the United Cajun Navy had told to Nancy Grace, and it was reported in People magazine. Activists and investigators said they were told the same thing, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. And so I said that is significant to us, because if that's true, then when did he put on his shirt? All the photographs we saw in the videos, he was shirtless with just swimming trunks on. And so we were saying, who knows when he put on the shirt? Somebody knows something. People know something about why Nolan Wells is dead. I mean, there were 300, 400 people out there. Look at all the people on the video. You mean this 18-year-old, superbly fit college football player drowns, as you want us to believe, and nobody sees anything? I mean, it flies in the face of common sense. And so Governor Tate Reeves then takes to the press to accuse me and Reverend Al Sharpton of causing racial tensions in Mississippi, because we continue to say we're not going anywhere until we find out what happened to Nolan Wells. And then he says, well, Attorney Crump was caught in another lie. And I'm like confused. And he says, because the United Cajun Navy said that Crump is misconstruing our words. We don't misconstrue our words, or whatever they tried to say about him being face down, fully clothed when they found him. And so, April, we came with receipts. And we said, Governor Tate with Nina Simone song playing, her iconic song about Mississippi playing in the background. Governor Reeves Tate, where is the lie? We have the interview of Nancy Grace and the president of the United Cajun Navy talking about they found Nolan face down, fully clothed. And so I think what they're trying to do is distract us. So our response was very direct that no. It can't be a lie if we're quoting his exact words and we have the evidence of him saying it. Cannot be a lie. What we stand for is the truth, no matter who it implicates or exonerates. We stand for justice, no matter who it convicts or acquits. We stand for transparency because we want everybody to see the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells.
So Mississippi is considered the most racist state in the nation. One of the reasons, 1955 Emmett Till. And so many people are making compare and contrast remarks of Mamie Till Mobley and Emmett Till's stepdad and Wells' parents, Nolan Wells' parents. Is this history of racism, you believe, perpetuating that, what the governor is saying?
Well, all I know is this, as Reverend Al said at the eulogy, you know, when you go to the doctor and you got a serious matter and you're about to try to treat it, then you got to look at the history. You got to look at the patient. And so we have to look at the history of Emmett Till. We have to look at the history of Medgar Evers. We have to look at all those things, James Meredith. I mean, all these things are important that we just don't gloss over them. With that said, we just want a fair and impartial investigation. Just like Nolan's mother said, if this was your child, wouldn't you want answers? I mean, you're burying your child, your 18-year-old kid who had his whole life ahead of him, was doing very well in life. You're burying him, and you don't even have any answers to how he died.
At the very least, should there be an investigation and a grand jury hearing?
Well, we have been told that it will be a grand jury hearing, and by the district attorney. And we have differences of opinions based on our lived experiences about if the roles were reversed, how zealous this investigation would be. But, you know, we live in America and we understand that, you know, we have to fight for equal justice under the law in every situation, in every case. For whatever justice we're going to get, we better be ready to fight for it.
Do you think that Dr. Roger Mitchell's preliminary independent autopsy report will make it into this grand jury hearing?
I expect Dr. Roger Mitchell's preliminary autopsy to be presented before the grand jury. I expect Dr. Roger Mitchell to be allowed to testify before the grand jury.
Is there anything else on Nolan Wells' case? Because we understand that the mother and father are really inundated with hate right now.
Yeah, it's sad that they're getting so much hate mail and threats. His mother, Christine, is a nurse. I mean, her son died. She's been trying to keep her family together and fight for justice. He had 5 siblings, 4 of them younger than him. I mean, it's just sad. It's very heartbreaking, the fact that she's not getting negative reviews at her job. Never got a negative review before, but now people in Mississippi are giving her negative reviews, and it's just so sad. I mean, where is the humanity?
Her son dies, questionably, and it becomes a national story, and so now she's also fighting for her job.
Well, I know she's getting negative reviews. I pray that her job will understand that there are some people in this world that are just sick people.
In Wisconsin, you've got your hands full.
Corey Ruiz.
Yes, young man was killed by police. Talk to me about this. I mean, we met you in police, deadly police force cases. Talk to me about Mr. Ruiz.
Well, Corey Ruiz was a 32-year-old black man who the police encountered, and they ended up shooting him 3 times in the head area. And thank God for cell phone video. Thank God for technology. The fact that they did not have police body cam video on them in 2026 in Madison, Wisconsin is just unbelievable, April Ryan. I mean, body cam video on every police should be mandatory in 2026, but them and ICE, they don't have these body cam videos, so thank God we have cell phone video to see them as they execute Corey Ruiz, because that's what that was, an execution. And they say Corey had a knife. They claim he cut a police officer. We don't see anywhere in that video where he cut anybody. But you see in that video, you see the body language after he's executed. They don't act like they've been cut or anything. In fact, they are shocked. His fellow police officers are shocked that this guy shot him 3 times. And don't take Ben Crump's word for it. Look at the video. I mean, and when you see they got him down, he's detained. There's 4 officers. I think all of them are bigger than him. Corey is on the ground, and the officer gets up, steps back, takes his gun out, and then boom, 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 point blank range in the face area. And you say to yourself, well, you can only use excessive use of deadly force if it's a life or death situation where it's threatening you in harm's way. Corey's on the ground. You now have got up. You have stepped back. What is the life or death situation at that point? That is the crux of the matter. That's why we're fighting that this is an excessive use of deadly force. They could have de-escalated this matter. They de-escalated every other matter 80 miles away in Wisconsin. All the activists showed me a video, April Ryan, of a white man running after the police, punching the police, fighting the police. And the 3 police officers, none of them never pulled their weapon. They de-escalated the situation and they took him alive. Why couldn't they have done the same thing with this young black man, Corey Ruiz? And you watch that video. Why? It is shocking to Madison, Wisconsin, and they've been protesting nonstop. Why they are protesting around America when they see this video is because it is shocking to watch a young man be executed. Executed. This was an execution by the police.
So are the police being cooperative with an investigation of this matter with you?
At this time, we just were retained. We met with the family on Friday. We heard the comments of the mayor. We heard the comments of the police chief. But at this point, these officers are on administrative leave, and everybody from the police union to all the right-wing people are trying to say, well, he had a knife. What was the police to do? They were to do the same thing that they do with young white men who are mass murderers in these mass shootings. They de-escalate the situation and they take them alive. But they are not to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner on the side of the street. And I'll say this before we end the interview. You know, his alleged crime was, they said he was looking into car doors and he was checking to see if car doors were locked, as if he was going to steal some property. That is the alleged crime. The policy is you don't do high-speed chases of cars when it's a property crime. So if he's on a bicycle and you do a high-speed chase of him on a bicycle, isn't that even worse than chasing a car for a property crime? But let me correct myself. Not even property crime. It was a speculation. As the police chief said, we believe he was the person trying to get into cars. So he was executed based on speculation. I mean, where's his due process? Why couldn't he have been taken alive and have a judge and a jury judge him for the speculation of the crime versus them executing him in broad daylight on the streets of Madison, Wisconsin.
And two quick questions, synopsis of a synopsis, and then we'll end really fast. You brought up Corey Ruiz and these cameras, body cams. President Trump has put money into body cameras. And just in the situation in Maine with ICE, they didn't have the cameras on. What do you say to the fact that the president has pushed the issue, well, not necessarily pushed, but he's funded body cameras, and they're not being used by police or ICE?
April Ryan, I think the same thing that we thought when we were fighting for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. As you know, you were the most decorated and celebrated person covering the White House, especially from our community. And we fought to say that if the police have a case of excessive force, or even worse, a killing of a citizen, and they don't have their body cameras on, it should be a federal offense. There should be a rebuttable presumption that you did something that was inappropriate or criminal if you killed somebody and you were not wearing your body camera. You know it's very easy to hit that button and activate that body camera every time you have an interaction with a citizen. And when you don't do that, that tells us that we should be suspicious, very suspicious.
And the last question, there's no civil rights division in justice. Civil rights has been pulled out of almost every facet of society. Where are we as it relates to Black and brown people in deadly police force and these kind of what could be alleged as racial crimes as well in this nation?
We're in very challenging times. It's always a journey to justice. Sometimes we move forward and then sometimes we take steps back. But we should never get discouraged. Our young people are worth the fight, and we should keep our eyes on the prize for them. I think that we must remember our ancestors had it far worse than us, and they were able to overcome the oppressors and the enemies of equality. And I'm often reminded of one of your sheroes. I like to call her the mother of Black journalism, Ida B. Wells,
yes,
who had the courage to document the lynchings even when her life was at stake. And where we at right now in policing in America is, I think, especially considering with the blanket, power that ICE has been given, this national police force. She said, we must always remember the killers write the police reports.
Ben Crump, thank you so much for this time in Baltimore at the Jack and Jill Convention, and your words to America and the contrarians in particular on some of the most heinous crimes we've seen lately. Thank you.
Thank you, April Ryan.
Thank you, Ben Crump.